Hey, this is Rachel Cunningham, and you're listening to Joyful Love, episode 115. If you're ready to bring joy and connection back to your marriage, stick around. Each week, I give you the tools to up-level your thinking, open your heart, and bring joy and fun back to your relationship. Because it's not enough just to stay married. We want to love being married. Hello, friends. How are you today? I am doing really well. I don't think I felt really well last week or a couple weeks ago. And so I ended up just saying, you know what, my nervous system, everything I'm trying, all the every little day things that I'm trying, it's just not enough right now. And so I knew in my heart, in my body, in my mind, all the things were telling me that I needed some alone time. And in fact, about maybe 3 or 4 weeks ago, my husband, I was just sitting at the kitchen counter, and I was kind of staring out into space. And my husband said, "Rachel, are you okay?" And I said, I think I'm okay, but I think, and this probably speaks volumes, but I said, I think I'm okay, but I think I've needed about 3 months of alone time since I was probably 8 years old when I had like 6 siblings, and I never got that alone time. And he was like, "Oh, wow, that's deep." And I was like, "Yep." But I grew up in a very large family, and I don't think I had ever had alone time. And as soon as I moved out of my parents' house, I moved into a apartment with like lots of other people my age, and I think there were 6 or 7 of us living there at one point. And so I never had alone time there. And then I ended up getting married right after living with them. So I never had a chance to live alone. I never had that alone time or like living alone experience, right? So I think my brain was just like offering me up, you need 3 months of alone time. And but I also knew that wasn't really possible. So I kept pushing off my alone time, right? And I just kept going, okay, a few minutes here, an hour here is fine enough, but it really wasn't. And so I ended up talking to my best friend about it. And she was like, "Rachel, like you don't have to have 3 months of alone time in order to get a good amount of alone time. You realize that, right?" And so I was like, "Oh yeah, I could just book a week somewhere." And so I ended up calling my friend with some land in Tennessee. She has a tiny cabin in the woods. And I spent the last 6 days in the woods doing a little mini retreat again. I've never spent that much time there before. I've spent like 2 days there. But we did yoga by the river. She did some healing ceremonies on me, and most of the time I just had alone time. I journaled, I slept so well. I think the first night I slept like 11 hours, which that's not something that I usually do. So I just had, I had 6 days to myself to just heal and to really help my nervous system to calm down and regulate. And now that I am back, I'm still feeling the benefits of that. Sometimes we just need to ask for what we really want, which might be alone time. For you, it might be couple time. For you, it might be friend time. But it's so important to like look at what you want and ask for what you want. Even if your brain is telling you you need a full 3 month sabbatical or a year sabbatical, like mine sometimes tells me, and maybe you're not seeing the possibility of that yet, where can you start? What can you make work, right? I remember when my kids were little bitty and I needed some alone time. I remember taking a couple times out, just like a night over or a night away at a hotel, just for some uninterrupted sleep and just time to retreat And even just like a little 24-hour retreat sometimes when you have little kids is so, or teenagers or whatever, right? It's so important. And, and we mothers, we women are such givers, right? When our children are small, we give to them. When they're big, we give to them. When our children leave the nest, our parents begin to age, and then we give to them, and which is a beautiful thing, right? And one of the things that I want to keep about myself is that I am a giver, that I'm a helper, that I love people, that I love giving. And there's a lot of people in my life that need me sometimes, and I want to be that person that gives, right? Like I some of my favorite people who are elderly are the people who know how to give well, and I want to be one of those people. But the older I get, the more I recognize that I get to be just as much of a giver to myself, and I get to include myself in that equation. And quite often I need to include myself in that equation first so that I have the energy and the stamina and the desire to give to others. So today I want to talk about radically and joyfully loving yourself by knowing how to ask for me time. And so many times we just don't even ask. Right? Or we ask from a moment of desperation, and there ends up being like resentment and criticism mixed in when we go ahead and ask for things, right? So I want to simplify it. Like, what if we just got clear on what we wanted, and we just asked? What if it really is that simple, right? And what if we assume the best of our partners, that they actually want to say yes to us? They actually want to help us get what we want and what we need, right? So I'm actually going to share with you 10 examples of simple ways to ask for what you want. But as you hear these, I want you to just hear the way I say it. And sometimes you might go, I would never say something that way. And that's fine, right? You're not me. You don't have my personality. Your partner doesn't have the personality of my husband. You get to take these and tweak them, of course, and make them feel real and natural to you. But as you take these things and make them real to you, I want you to start with like the way you think about it first. Number one is like adopting the mindset that you deserve a good time. You deserve time for self-care. You deserve good things as well. You deserve to receive love, right? Like that was one of my themes this weekend whenever I went to my friend's little cabin in the woods, is I get to receive. I am allowed to receive love, right? Just because I'm a giver, just because I love giving and helping other people, doesn't mean that I don't need to receive as well, right? So I went there and I received love and nurturing and healing from my friend. I received love and nurturing and healing from nature, right? I received the love and nurturing and healing from lying in bed for 11 hours one night, right? That's number one. Really adopt the mindset before you ask for what you want, that you are allowed to want good things for yourself. And then number two, adopt that mindset that I talked about earlier, that your partner wants to give to you. Your partner wants you to receive something good. Your partner wants to help you figure out how to make these things happen, right? Okay, so with that said, I'm just going to read something that I shared with my private clients in an email one time, and I'm just going to read it to you and share it with you. So this is how to ask for me time. Number one, honey, I've bought myself a hammock and I plan to use it. I'm going to use it tomorrow night. Right? Like that's just like, notice that I didn't even ask anything. It was just like, honey, I bought myself a hammock and I plan to use it. Right? Can you imagine if you were to um, really get clear on what you wanted and just go make it happen? Right? Sometimes we don't even have to ask. Remember that too. Like you have autonomy over what you decide to do, right? You get to make your choices for yourself. And part of this too is like looking at where you're holding yourself back, right? Okay, number 2, babe, I'm waking up 20 minutes early to have alone time from now on. Right? Like you're just making the statement. You're just letting them know what you plan to do to take care of yourself, right? Number 3, I'm going on a date by myself to the coffee shop this weekend. And then this is where the question comes in, right? You've made that statement. I'm going to go on, I feel the need, and you can add whatever you need to here, right? You can say, you know what? I feel like I really just need some alone time to gather my thoughts about some things. So I'm going to make a date by myself to go to the coffee shop this weekend. And will you be available to watch the kids, or should I hire a sitter? Right? Like you're not asking permission, right? You don't have to ask permission for things. You might have to work out logistics, like of whether or not they are working that weekend, or whether you should drop your kids off with your mom, or right? You might need to work through some logistics there. But you don't have to ask permission, right? You have autonomy over your own choices in a marriage. You get to choose. So make a statement, or get clear on what you want, make a statement, and then work through the logistics. Number 4, if you have kids, whether they are small kids, teenagers, or anywhere in between, you can just say, hey kids, mommy is really grumpy and I'm having a hard day, so I'm going to give myself a timeout. And then you might need to tell them, you know what, I need some quiet time, right? I need some quiet time so I can think about how to be less grumpy. And this is such a great example to your kids too, of recognizing that you are having a hard time and that you need a timeout, and being that example to your kids, right? And when you are the example of self-care, of giving yourself a timeout when you need it, your kids might start noticing that and saying, hey, mommy, I need a timeout because I'm feeling grumpy, right? Like kids learn from and copy what their parents do. So like allowing your kids to see that mommy isn't perfect either, and mommy has some emotional stuff she needs to deal with sometimes too, and allowing herself time to process that is so healthy for a child. Number 5 is also directed to your kids. Kids, mommy needs to burn some energy. So I'm going to close my door for 20 minutes to dance all by myself, or to work out, or, to jump on my trampoline, right? Whatever your thing is, right? And then you can also, like, if they're little kids and they love dancing with mommy or whatever, you can say, and then when I come out, we're going to dance together. Right? But like give yourself that 20 minutes. Get your kids in the habit of seeing mommy needs some time by herself, and that's a really healthy thing, right? Number 6 is directed to your partner again. Hey, honey, I really want an extra 30 minutes to exercise every day. I'm committed to this, but I might need your help in making that happen. And then you can ask your partner, do you have any ideas? Is there a time that would be better for you to watch the kids, right? A lot of these are directed to younger kids. And so if your kids are a lot older, if you have extra time without your kids, a lot of you asking for what you want is you just giving yourself permission to stop doing so much, right? But if you have younger kids, a lot of these can really help you communicate with your partner your needs, ask for what you need, and then ask, What ideas do you have? How can you help me with this? Okay, number 7 is geared toward your partner again, and it could be like if your partner wants more sexy time with you or more time with you at night, and maybe you just end up too exhausted a lot of times, right? So here's an idea of how to ask for what you want to give you both more of what you want together. Honey, I think I'd have more energy at night to spend time with you if I could just have a few minutes to myself after dinner. So let's trade off who gets the kids ready for bed every other night. How's that sound? Or, swap it out for what makes sense for you. What, is it homework that exhausts you? Can you trade off that, right? Notice how like this sentence expressed both needs, right? It expressed your need for more energy, and it also expressed your desire to spend more time with your honey, right? And this is a way to get that time that you need so that you can nurture your relationship at night. Number 8, and this speaks to my heart because I spent so long saying, I just wish I had more time to read. But this is one for those of you who want more time to just chill and read. You can say, my love, I want to read more. I want to turn into a sexy library nerd, right? Bring in that humor, right? I want to read more. I want to turn into a sexy library nerd, but I'm going to need some reading time to make this happen. So when is the best time for you to help me find that time? Number 9, honey, I'd really like to jump your bones some more, but I'm going to need to feel cared for first. I can't just go from rushing all day to feeling relaxed enough for sex. So I need extra help with the kids at night, or with the dishes, or with the laundry, or with homework. Fill in your blank, right? That one is very similar to number 7 above, with more energy. Let me go back and read that one again because I really like the extra added thing in there of I need to feel cared for first, right? So many times women who are struggling with wanting to have sex, they want to feel like they're cared for first, right? They feel like they've been caring for people all day, every day, in all the ways, from work to home to kids to, to dinner to everything. And so they want to feel cared for, right? And so, most women that I've talked to want a better sex life. And their husbands don't know it because they're also avoiding it, right? But they just need to feel cared for so that they can kind of relax into remembering they're not just a maid, they're not just a mother, they're also a woman who is cared for and loved and adored, right? So asking for what you need in that area is so important too. Okay, number 10. I love this one because it taps into your need to know and understand yourself. Here it is. Honey, I really miss myself. I miss me. And I need to make time for myself again. I believe it's important for our relationship that I start taking super good care of myself. So here's what I need. And then fill in your blank, right? Like, here's what I need from you to help with that. Fill in your blank. So these are all very similar ways of asking for what you need in a relationship, asking for what you need for self-care, asking for me time. And notice that every single one of these statements or questions or requests, none of them included begging, none of them included complaining. They didn't have to be said with anger. They didn't have to welcome in a whole bunch of resentment, right? Like, no criticism was needed. You didn't have to start the conversation with, you always do this and you never do this. And I have all these things to do, right? You don't have to start it with that. You don't even have to bring any of that up. It can just be like, like I have this goal, I have this desire, I want it. Here's what it is. How can we help make this happen, right? And then another thing that, you can do is like bring in that humor sometimes, right? Like you want to turn into a sexy library nerd, or, you can't wait to jump your partner's bones, right? Like whatever your personal humor is, like welcome in that humor as you have these discussions about getting what you need more, right? Getting what you want, and really creating that me time for yourself. And, you can also kind of adapt these to asking for what you need in the relationship more. And, approach this as an experiment. And remember, like if you approach life, if you approach your relationships as I'm just experimenting with something new here, right? There's never a failure, right? If life is just an experiment, if all of these things are just experiments to get to better relationships, to get to a better relationship with yourself, you're just learning as you go. You're learning what works for you, what doesn't work. And, and when you approach these things as an experiment, you will learn so much and you'll have skills to build on. So try some of these questions today. Try them out, and I would love to hear from you. How did it work? Did it work? Did it bring up anything else? Did you get what you wanted? What else came up with it? So, okay. And you can email me at hello@rachelcunningham.com if you want to chat about this anymore. I love, love, love hearing from you guys. That said, I would also love for you to go wherever you listen to this podcast. I would love for you to go and like it and put a review on there. If these podcasts are helping you in any way, I would just love for you to leave me a review, because that really helps other people as well. If you're watching this on YouTube, click the like button below and subscribe as well. And then last but certainly not least, the only way that you can work with me at the time that this is being released, which is September 2024, the only way you can work with me right now is through private coaching. And I do have a few spots left for this fall. If you would like one of those spots, reach out to me at hello@rachelcunningham.com, or you can also book a free consultation on my website at rachelcunningham.com. All right, here is to getting what you want this week. Thanks for listening to Joyful Love. If you'd like to know more about my work, come visit me at rachelcunningham.com. That's Rachel spelled with an AEL, Cunningham.com.